Creative Writing Tips by Pauline Jones. Keeping it brief. A good storyteller does not need to get complicated in order to pull the reader in. All he has to do is kickstart the reader's imagination, and he will do the rest for himself. Brevity is about finding the one right word rather than the several, acceptable words. For example, the adjectives huge, smelly and menacing can probably be replaced with the word monstrous. Humans use speech generously. Go into your local cafe and listen to the general buzz of conversation. Hear the half-finished sentences, the hums, the ha's, the repeats, the interruptions and the generalities. For instance, Joe sat by his old friend and lifted his coffee cup. "Nice weather, isn't it?" "Yeah, but not as good as yesterday," Bob said. "Might be better tomorrow," Joe observed. "Did you see the weather forecast?" Bob asked. "No, but I probably will when I get home," Joe predicted. "I think I might go to town tomorrow if the weather's good and I have enough money," Bob complained. "Oh, I owe you some money, don't I? Me and my memory, I'd forgotten all about that," Joe apologised. Writers cannot afford to waste their readers' time on speech like this. Your dialogue has to sound like normal speech, but it must be much briefer. And it has no place at all if it does not move the story along. If it doesn't do that, get rid of it. This is how our example's paragraph should look. Bob looked at his friend. "You remember that money you owe me?" "Sorry, I must have forgot. You ever going to pay me?" 8 sentences cut down to 3, but it still feels like speech. Another thing about speech is that if your character has an accent, don't try to spell the way a person talks. Take this example. "Sure, I don't think so." This can become, "Sure, I don't think so." And this can become, "Sure, I don't think so." You only need to use the word whisker sure and everyone will know that your character is Irish. You don't need anything else. Keep it simple and keep it readable. The next point is vitally important to the craft of good writing. Beware of exposition. Successful novels cannot contain pages of long, boring explanations. If the writing does not move the story along, cut it out. Instead of weighing the story down with long explanations, let the narrative run and let the audience learn about the characters by their reactions to different situations. This technique is called show, don't tell. For instance, which is better? Maria was a pretty young woman that liked to flirt. That is why she got into so much trouble. Or, Maria looked at the handsome man on the other side of the bar and winked. If you need to put your characters in their time and place settings, do it as quickly as possible. For instance, Maria looked anxiously at the clock as she stood in the long queue at the busy airport. Or, Maria stood nervously outside the big house trying to summon up the courage to ring the bell. Or, as Maria placed flowers on her husband's grave, she was suddenly aware that someone was standing behind her. Lengthy explanations are not normally necessary. Mention Hawaii, and we think of palm trees, sun, sand and surf. Mention a yellow cab and we think of New York. Even when explaining a character's background, it's not always necessary to say much. For instance, Professor Miles Watkins, the 40-year-old head of natural history, had never been able to break the habit of biting his nails. We get the idea that this guy is the recluse academic type that prefers dead things to actual relationships. This can then be reinforced by the things he says and does as the story is told. If the story arc takes him to the jungles of Peru, where he has to save the beautiful girl by translating a secret ancient tribal language and fighting the bad guys, Remember to keep him in character by having him bring along his glasses and his asthma medication. He may be learning about life and gaining confidence, but you must not lose the person you had when you started. And remember, you have to know your characters and their world intimately in order to maintain consistency. But your reader does not need to know everything that you do. Therefore, do not ramble, meander, waffle, or wander off into redundant byways. Give your reader what he needs, and let his own imagination do the rest. Well, I hope these tips will be useful to you. I wish you well in your writing. And don't forget to check out my family-friendly adventure story, A Future Fairy Tale. It's available from Amazon.com or cozyread.com. And if you're into art, check out my artist website at neweyesartist.com. Bye till next time. Bye.